Hello and welcome to Martin Lucas Investors Channel. My name is Sensei Crypto, and we are here today covering the big event, the SEC Roundtable, talking about tokenization, digitization, crypto roundtable. A lot to be covered during that. We have already got the news today of the China deal.
Hello
which is
and welcome to Martin
oh,
Lucas
I
Investors
apologize.
Channel.
I apologize for that. Yeah, so we've got the XRP chart. We've already covered the China deal, which is good, fueling the markets right now. So that's all done. We are ready to cover the SEC roundtable event, spring sprint towards crypto clarity. We know what's going on here. We've got the agenda. We're going to have Chairman Paul Atkins giving the keynote address. Then we're going to have the evolution of finance, the future of tokenization. That's all coming up very shortly. So thank you all for tuning in. So why does this matter for the crypto markets today? So regulatory clarity is coming. The SEC's crypto task force is holding this roundtable, and it's going to start very soon. So please do hit the like button, share this out, share it on the SEC page on Twitter, share it anywhere, share it on other people's streams. Tell them that we are live on Martin Lucas Investor. So the SEC's crypto task force is holding a roundtable as a broader spring sprint towards crypto clarity, signaling movement towards definitive regulatory frameworks. They're going to be talking about tokenization. Tokenization is going to be massive for XRP and crypto as a whole. Major institutions are represented, and we've got BlackRock, Fidelity, Nasdaq, Franklin Templeton, the ones that are putting in these XRP ETF applications. They're going to be speaking. We know what they're going to say. Let's see if they say it. Tokenization, real world equals real world utility. The focus is tokenization of TradFi, which bridges regulated finance with crypto. This validates and promotes blockchain use cases that go beyond speculation, such as on-chain bonds, tokenized funds, and digital dollar. Why is this bullish for XRP? XRP's utility case is tokenization. Ripple XRP's parent company has long positioned XRP as a bridge asset for tokenized fiat and real-world cross-border payments. Today, Roundtable is exactly that, moving assets on-chain and interoperability between TradFi and DeFi. We've got ex-executives with Ripple ties at the event as well. We've got Rob Mitchnick, head of digital assets at BlackRock, and formerly a Ripple executive, is on the panel. This connects XRP's vision with Wall Street powerhouses. Other Ripple-friendly figures like Johnny Renchich, Tokenized Asset Coalition, and Georgina also advocates for tokenized finance, aligning with Ripple's goals. SEC legitimization helps XRP's legal standing. They have won that SEC case. So let's see if XRP is mentioned, and let's tune into the event, which is starting in 4 minutes' time. So before the event starts, we're looking at XRP's price coming back, breaking out of the bull flag, and we're trying to get back above $2.62. If that occurs, $2.70 can occur today, and that sets us up very nicely to head to other targets we have in mind for XRP. $3, a very key level, $2.98, $3.30, and $3.50 all-time highs, and then we are in a good position to head to these all-time highs. $4.70, $5.30, $6.30, $7.40, $8.50, and then we do have some more bullish targets: $11, $13, $18, and even possibly $33 in the perfect storm. So this is all starting today. We've got the underlying good news from before: SEC case, ETFs, spot ETFs, Brazil, futures ETFs in the US. Now we're looking for an XRP ETF, spot ETF in the US. So a lot going on today. We've got the broader markets pumping as well. So we're going to cover all of this. So if you are with us, we've got the Nasdaq 100 going up again, and the S&P 500 going up again. So we are posed for a good run during this stream. So if you're with us, please do hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. We are going to be covering all this news. How many likes do we have so far? We've got 235 people, only 235, only 235 people watching, 4 likes. We can do much better than that. So if you haven't done so already, let's get this up to 100 likes straight away, and the event should be starting in 2 minutes time. So let's get to 100 likes before that event starts. Share this out. We've got 50 likes right now. Another 50 should take only a minute. So let's all get liking the stream. Sensei on overtime, says Phil. Hello, a BlackRock ETF. Yes, that is. I assume why BlackRock are attending, obviously at different reasons as well, but they are going to be in a good standing with the SEC when they're talking to them now. Hey, what's significant of this speak folk? Well, this is about digitization, tokenization. This is what XRP, one of XRP's use cases, so big. We shall see. I'm already locked in and loaded, just sitting back and enjoying the ride. Same, I wouldn't be throwing in. Again, anything I'm saying during the stream, or if I ever say it, is not financial advice. This is just my thoughts and opinions only. Do not buy or sell based on anything I'm saying. This is only for entertainment and educational purposes. I like showing you the charts. I like showing you what I'm doing with my money. That certainly means do not copy my trades. Everyone is getting the smash the likes emoji in the chat. Please do hit that like button. Are we on 100 likes yet? Let me refresh this. We've got about 2 minutes, about 1 minute until the stream starts. So thank you all for tuning in. 80 likes, 20 more likes, and let's get this going. What else do we have? I wouldn't buy right now, waiting for a good dip. I don't have any XRP now. Again, I would already be in. I wouldn't be telling anyone to buy right now. We do have our XRP merchandise in the store, XRP to the moon. Please do check that out as well. I think we're very low on stock. Well, they're limited because they also give you access to Discord, a premium channel on Discord. There's only 3 of these mugs left, and we do actually have a 25% off code right now. Let me give you the link to this mug. It's in the chat right now. The link is 25 off. Or off 25, one of the two. You can check when you're checking out. We've got mugs, we've got jumpers, we've got t-shirts, so do check out the store as well. Okay, so I'm going to see if they're starting this event. We are live waiting for this event to start. I've got it ready. Let me see what's going on. We are waiting on standby. We are on standby. Let's see if it started. Nothing yet. Any moment now, we will have this stream for you guys. I'm going to refresh the screen. 2000 XRP is not going to make you rich, though, is it? 2000 XRP. I mean, best case scenario, a few years time, 5 years, 6 years time, we'll have potentially XRP at $50 to $100. So you're looking at maybe 200,000. So that's pretty rich, but that's in the long term, and that's a perfect storm to get to 100,000. So 2,000 XRP is quite significant in this market, but this time round it probably won't. $10 XRP, it will be a $20,000 investment. So it's all relative. 20,000 to someone could be a lot. It would be to me, that's for sure. Here we go, peeps. Loving the work. Great. You and Martyn are bringing to the table respect. No worries. We will bring you all the news as we've always promised. We will be live. We will be serving the members. We'll be addressing all the news stories in a way that other channels don't. Remember, any other channel covering this probably is going to be selling leverage positions, leverage tokens, and selling particular cryptocurrencies, or telling you to leverage trade and giving you links. We won't do that. We'll cover the news truthfully. There's also even worse, people saying XRP $10,000 a token, all this sort of stuff to get you to click and to get you. And even worse than that, there'll be scammers out there telling you to send them a certain amount of crypto and they'll double it. So we are very much against all of that, and we will never do that. So thank you for tuning in. We are waiting any second now. We will have the live stream for you guys. If you have just tuned in, please do hit the like button. Let's get to 100 likes ASAP. Check out the Martyn Lucas merchant store. Martyn sent a limited edition mugs available now. 007 approves. Drink your tea in style. Order now. The perfect gift. Perfect for a cuppa. There we go. I am waiting for this event to start. I'm waiting for this event to start any second now. Nothing yet. We are live waiting for it. What are we talking about? We're talking about the spring sprint towards crypto clarity. We've got the agenda with Paul Atkinson starting with a keynote address. Oh, we've got something going on. We've got footsteps. So far we've got footsteps. So something is beginning. Here we go. We are live. Please hit that like button. Let's get going.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the fourth roundtable in the SEC's spring sprint toward crypto clarity, entitled Tokenization, Moving Assets On-Chain, where TradFi and DeFi meet. As with our custody roundtable a couple of weeks ago, today's roundtable has two separate panels. The first will take on the question of how tokenization can transform our traditional financial markets, and the second will explore issues including operational risk, privacy, and the role of intermediaries in a tokenized financial system. The next step in the evolution of our markets will see equities, bonds, and other assets move on-chain, providing issuers and market participants with increased flexibility in how they access and use these assets. As an Exchange Act lawyer, I find this application of distributed ledger technology particularly exciting, and I'm looking forward to hearing our panelists tackle the many interesting legal and compliance questions we'll need to address to make this next step possible. I'd like to remind everyone that this event is being streamed live and is being covered by multiple media outlets. Accordingly, please be aware that all remarks by Commission officials, participants, and members of our audience will be on the record. In addition, please remember that the participants in today's roundtable speak on their own behalf and that their views do not necessarily reflect the views of the Commission, the Commissioners, or members of the Commission staff. Before we give the floor to our two panels, we're honored once again to hear remarks from Chairman Atkins and his fellow commissioners. Chairman Atkins will open today's event with a keynote address in which he will set out his thoughts on how the Commission could implement a workable regulatory framework in this space. Following the Chairman's remarks, we will hear from Commissioner Crenshaw, Commissioner Ueda, and Commissioner Peirce. Mr. Chairman.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you, Richard, for opening us up here. And I'm delighted to speak to this distinguished group and to you all in the audience and online. And I really thank you all very much for your taking your own time to devote to this important topic. Look forward to learning a lot from this. So the topic of this afternoon's discussion is timely as securities are increasingly migrating from traditional or off-chain databases to blockchain-based or on-chain ledger systems. This movement of securities from off-chain to on-chain systems is akin to the transition of audio recordings from I'm maybe one of the only few here in the room who remember this, from analog vinyl records and even older ones that can break, to cassette tapes, and then finally to digital software decades ago. The ability to easily encode audio in a digital file format, which could readily be transferred, modified, and stored, unlocked tremendous innovation within the music industry. Audio was freed from its boundaries as a static, fixed format creation. It suddenly was compatible and interoperable across a wide range of devices and applications. It could be combined, broken apart, and programmed to form entirely new products. This also led to the development of novel hardware devices and streaming content business models, greatly benefiting consumers in the American economy. So just as the shift to digital audio revolutionized the music industry, the migration to on-chain securities has the potential to remodel aspects of the securities market by enabling entirely new methods of issuing, trading, owning, and using securities. For example, on-chain securities can utilize smart contracts to transparently distribute dividends to shareholders on regular cadence. Tokenization can also enhance capital formation by transforming relatively illiquid assets into
XRP.
liquid investment opportunities.
Breaking above $2.62
Blockchain
will be
technology
massive.
holds the promise to allow for a broad swath of novel use cases for securities, fostering new kinds of market activities that many of the Commission's legacy rules and regulations don't even contemplate today. In order for the United States to be the crypto capital of the planet, as envisioned by President Trump, The Commission must keep pace with innovation and consider whether regulatory changes are needed to accommodate on-chain securities and other types of crypto assets. Rules and regulations designed for off-chain securities may be incompatible with or unnecessary for on-chain assets and actually then stifle the growth of blockchain technology. A key priority of my chairmanship will be to develop a rational regulatory framework for crypto asset markets that establishes clear rules of the road for issuance, custody, and trading of crypto assets while continuing to discourage bad actors from violating the law. Clear rules of the road are necessary for investor protection against fraud, not the least to help them identify scams that do not comport with the law. It is a new day at the SEC. Policymaking will no longer result from ad hoc enforcement actions. Instead, the Commission will utilize its existing rulemaking, interpretative, and exemptive authorities to set fit-for-purpose standards for market participants. The Commission's enforcement approach will return to Congress's original intent, which is to police violations of these established obligations, particularly.
Thank you for becoming a member. You can also become a member. I'll give you the link now.
Requires coordination across multiple offices and divisions within the Commission, which is why I'm pleased that Commissioners Ueda and Peirce have worked together to establish the Crypto Task Force. For too long, the Commission has been plagued by policy-making silos within the Commission. The Crypto Task Force exemplifies how our policy divisions can come together to expeditiously provide.
We are watching XRP as well, waiting for a breakout, $6.20, $2.62.
Now, I mentioned 3 areas of focus for crypto asset policy: issuance, custody, and training. So first, with respect to issuance, I intend for the Commission to establish clear and sensible guidelines for distributions of crypto assets that are securities or are subject to an investment contract. Only 4 crypto asset issuers have conducted registered offerings and offerings pursuant to Reg A. Issuers have largely avoided these types of offerings, in part due to challenges in satisfying the associated disclosure requirements. In cases where the issuer does not intend to distribute ordinary securities, such as stock, bonds, or notes, issuers also struggle to determine whether a crypto asset constitutes a security or is subject to an investment contract. In the past few years, the SEC first pursued what I call the head-in-the-sand approach, perhaps hoping that crypto might just go away. Then it pivoted and pursued
very
a
bullish what you're
shoot
saying,
first and
very
ask questions
bullish.
later approach of regulation through enforcement. It claimed that it was willing to talk to prospective registrants, just come in and to visit, but this proved ephemeral at best and more misleading, I think, because the SEC made no necessary accommodations to registration forms for the new technology. For example, Form S-1 continues to require detailed information regarding executive compensation and the use of proceeds, which may not be relevant or material for investment decisions in crypto assets. While the SEC has previously adapted its forms for offerings of asset-backed securities and by real estate investment trusts, it has not done so far for crypto assets, despite increased investor interests in this space over the last several years. We cannot encourage innovation by trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. I am committed to the Commission's charting a new course. The Commission staff recently issued a staff statement on disclosure obligations for certain registrations and offerings. The staff also clarified the view that certain distributions in crypto assets do not implicate the federal securities laws, and I expect the staff to continue to provide clarifications at my direction with regard to other types of distributions and assets. However, existing registration exemptions and safe harbors may not be entirely fit for purpose for certain types of crypto asset offerings. I view this construct of staff pronouncements as extremely temporary. Commission action is both vital and necessary. In the meantime, I've asked the Commission staff to consider whether additional guidance, registration exemptions, and safe harbors are needed to create pathways for crypto asset issuances within the United States. I believe that the Commission has broad discretion under the Securities Acts to accommodate the crypto industry, and I intend to get it done. Second, with respect to custody, I support providing registrants with greater optionality in determining how to custody crypto assets. Commission staff recently removed a significant impediment for companies seeking to provide crypto asset custodial services by rescinding Staff Accounting Bulletin number 121. That pronouncement was a grave error. The staff had no place to act so broadly in place of Commission action and without notice and comment rulemaking. The action created needless confusion and went far beyond the jurisdiction of the SEC in its outward workings and effects. However, the SEC can do much more to enhance competition in the market for legally compliant custodial services than merely.
I'm just going to say this is a completely different tune to the previous SEC. This is bullish. We're waiting to see if there's any more XRP specific news. We've got BlackRock on the panel. We've got potential ETF news. So do stay tuned with us. We'll do a full analysis after.
From the qualified custody requirements to accommodate certain common practices within the crypto asset markets. Many advisors and funds have access to self-custodial solutions that incorporate more advanced technology to safeguard crypto assets as compared to some of the custodians in the marketplace today. Consequently, the custody rules may need to be updated to allow advisors and funds to engage in self-custody under certain circumstances. Additionally, it may be necessary to repeal and replace the special purpose broker-dealer framework with a more rational regime. Only 2 special purpose broker-dealers are in operation today due to the clearly significant limitations that are imposed on these entities. Broker-dealers are not and never were restricted from acting as a custodian for non-security crypto assets or crypto asset securities, but Commission action may be needed to clarify the application of the customer protection and net capital rules to this activity. So third, with respect to trading, I am in favor of allowing registrants to trade a broader variety of products on their platforms and in response to market demand, activities which previous commissions had prevented. For example, some broker-dealers seek to go to market with a super app that offers trading in securities and non-securities and other financial securities all under one roof. Nothing in the federal securities laws prohibits registered broker-dealers with an alternative trading system from facilitating trading in non-securities including via pairs trading between securities and non-securities. However, I've asked the staff to help us devise ways to modernize the ATS regulatory regime to better accommodate crypto assets. Additionally, I've asked the staff to explore whether further guidance or rulemaking may be helpful for enabling the listing and trading of crypto assets on a national securities exchange. While the Commission and its staff work to develop a comprehensive regulatory framework for crypto assets, securities markets participants should not be compelled to go offshore to innovate with blockchain technology. I would like to explore whether conditional exemptive relief would be appropriate for registrants and non-registrants that seek to bring new products and services to market that might not otherwise be compatible with current Commission rules and regulations. So I'm eager to coordinate with colleagues in President Trump's administration and in Congress to make the United States the best place in the world to participate in crypto asset markets. So thank you all for your attention, and I look forward to the discussions to follow, and I'm really look forward to ideas that may come from you participants here. Thank you very much.
So far, so good. Very, very different tune to Gary Gensler. Absolutely different tune. We are looking forward to BlackRock coming on and announcing a few things, see what they're going to say.
Good morning,
So thank you
afternoon,
all for
whatever it
tuning
is.
in. Hit that like
Never sure
button.
this
We will
is.
continue streaming this.
Today's topic is very broad, perhaps the broadest tackled so far by these crypto task force roundtables. Tokenization. I understand that much of the discussion will focus on potential regulatory efforts to facilitate tokenization. This idea brings to mind a famous line from the movie Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. As you may remember, this is a movie starring Kevin Costner as Ray Kinsella, a farmer who was inspired by a mysterious voice to plow under his cornfield and build a baseball diamond, taking it on faith that great things will follow. I see a parallel to the current enthusiasm around tokenization. Blockchain technology has been around for a long time. And although some limited use cases have recently been introduced, it has not been widely adopted for issuance and trading of registered securities. There's a view that if we build, or more accurately, rebuild, the financial system to accommodate blockchain, they, all manner of market participants, will come to embrace the tokenized securities. Investors will benefit from increased participation and choice, and markets will flourish from blockchain-derived improvements. To this, I would first ask today, what exactly are we trying to build? What is tokenization? It's a term that, even limited to the SEC space, eludes a straightforward definition. Does tokenization mean issuing a security directly on a blockchain? Or does it refer to creating a digital representation of a security on a blockchain? This may seem a subtle distinction, but it likely carries significant consequences from a regulatory
Tokenization,
perspective.
they need to get it right.
Beyond issuance, does or should tokenization encompass downstream distribution, trading, clearing, and settlement? In other words, would the entire securities life cycle move on-chain or only part of it? However we might try to answer these definitional questions, it's clear that a tokenized financial system is unlike anything we've seen before. It's not something known or understood like the baseball field Ray Kinsella built. The vision many espouse seems to be a fully tokenized system where any security, including high-volume liquid products like Fortune 500 stocks, can be issued, traded, cleared, and settled on the blockchain. Is that even technologically possible? If we are talking about public permissionless blockchains, the answer, at least as we sit here today, seems to be no. The transaction volume limitations and other scalability problems are well understood. The whole concept of public permissionless blockchains, which were designed to provide trust without the need for government oversight, seems an awkward vehicle for something as complex and statutorily regulated as the securities markets. If we're talking about private or permissioned blockchains, does that improve the potential for scalability? If it does, is this qualitatively different from other types of database technologies already in widespread use? Does it warrant any regulatory adjustments? No one seems to disagree that the SEC should remain a tech-neutral regulator. So why is it our place to assess particular forms of blockchains as candidate for industry adoption? Why would we focus on blockchain in particular over other types of
I'll just give you some
distributed
background on this lady. She is the Commissioner Caroline A. Creeshaw. I'm just going to interrupt her for a second because we need to know she was against the Ripple settlement. She's been anti-crypto along with Gary Gensler at the same time. Maybe she's changing her tune because of the new commissioner. We will see, but I'm very cautious of what she's saying, and she doesn't sound too bullish right now. So just giving you some context there. She was against the Ripple settlement.
The settlement cycle, while shorter than it used to be,
I apologize.
is perhaps
we are back.
a design feature,
Just be
not a
cautious
bug.
what she's saying. She might have changed her tune.
The intentional delay
she was
built in
against
between
Ripple
trade
settlement. She
execution
was
and
against
settlement
Bitcoin
provides for
spot
core
ETF.
market
She's
functionalities
anti-crypto.
and protection mechanisms. For example, the settlement cycle facilitates netting. Roughly speaking, netting allows counterparties to settle a day's worth of trades on a net basis rather than trade by trade. The sophisticated multilateral netting that occurs in our national clearance and settlement system drastically reduces the volume of trades requiring final settlement. On average, 98% of trade obligations are eliminated through netting. This allows the current system to handle tremendous volume. It's a key reason why our markets withstood sustained record-breaking trade volume in recent weeks without major failures. Netting also facilitates liquidity. Because the vast majority of trades are netted and don't require settlement, they don't require an exchange of money. If A sells to B, B sells to C, and C sells to A, those trades are paired off and eliminated. A, B, and C can each retain their capital, as compared to a bilateral instant settlement over a blockchain, where each would have to give up its cash for at least some period of time. Another important consideration is that instant settlement would generally disfavor retail investors, many of whom currently rely on the ability to submit payment after placing orders. We must also remember that critical compliance activities take place during the settlement cycle. These include checks designed to identify and prevent fraud and cybercrime. When red flags go up, the ability to pause a transaction and investigate is essential for investor protection and broader concerns like national security and counterterrorism. For these reasons and others, it is not at all clear that shortening the existing settlement cycle in this way is desirable or feasible. Regulators and major market participants here and abroad have persuasively argued otherwise. I think it's our statutory obligation as a regulator to exercise extreme caution with potential changes of this scale, which historically have been undertaken only to address true market crises. There are certainly areas to improve in our markets.
She's doing it again. She's saying they need to be so cautious. They need to take it slow. The regulations come in. By the time, if they go down her path, by the time they do this, every other country's overtaken it. She's got a new boss, as Saba said, so hopefully her tune changes, but she's not the best person to listen to. There'll be better panelists in a second.
Capital markets and the kind of systemic changes that we are talking about have the potential to affect every market participant from Wall Street to Main Street. Let's ensure that what we're contemplating is appropriately scoped to the portion of the market that participates in crypto, recently estimated to be less than 5% of U.S. households, and not detrimental to TradFi markets, on which most Americans depend for their financial well-being. Thank you all for your ongoing engagement with the Commission and your serious discussion of these important issues, and I look forward to the roundtables today. Thank you.
Someone just asked, she must be a Democrat. She is a Democrat. Not that that means anything, but just to answer your question and give you the context around her, she is a Democrat. She was against the Ripple settlement. She's an advocate for strict enforcement. She was skeptic towards the spot ETF of Bitcoin. We remember her from the SEC Ripple case, and she emphasizes on existing legal framework. So let's get back to this.
These roundtables serve as an opportunity for financial regulators to seek public input on how to address new types of financial products and services. We should not shy away from policymaking about emerging technologies simply because it does not fit into the existing regulatory framework. The first step in sound policymaking is seeking input from market participants. In recent history, we seem to have forgotten a very fundamental concept that investors and issuers have valuable observations and experiences. Given that we are in a full disclosure business, I'm pleased with the Commission's new crypto approach under the leadership of Commissioner Hester Peirce and the Crypto Task Force. Whether the issues relate to bringing real-world assets on-chain or considering custodial issues like we did at our last roundtable, we should promote a transparent regulatory environment. Market participants should not be left guessing as to how they can comply with the Commission's rulebook. These roundtable conversations are a useful step in obtaining this information with a view to constructing a regulatory framework that provides transparency and predictability for market participants that seek to bring assets on-chain. These conversations are particularly important given the development and deployment of new technologies, which have the potential to dramatically change how financial markets operate. In particular, the developments related to the tokenization of real-world assets using blockchain technology implicate major financial market functions and processes like issuance, trading, transfer, settlement, and record of ownership. In addition to these potential market improvements, tokenization presents opportunities to expand the landscape to demonstrate proof of ownership, making possible new types of uses, such as tokens that represent title to real estate or holdings of intellectual property rights. These implications can potentially benefit investors by enhancing liquidity for otherwise relatively illiquid assets, reducing delays associated with intermediation, and also decreasing transactional costs. Additionally, the technology has the potential to simplify, or at least streamline, certain compliance functions, such as through smart contracts for on-chain assets. These potential improvements in capital markets are tied to key characteristics of blockchain technology. Blockchain technology relies on a transparent ledger and does not require a central intermediary. Market transparency impacts transactional costs, but also implicates potential compliance issues, as more opaque and complex markets may increase compliance costs. For example, there are many regulatory questions, challenging ones, that the Commission and its staff may need to resolve under the regime established by Regulation NMS as securities move on-chain. As such, we should evaluate whether these technologies can benefit all market participants. In the mid-1980s, then Commissioner Joseph Grunfest described the rapid pace of technological innovations as, quote, the new technology of finance and the old technology of regulation, unquote. He identified a disconnect between regulatory tools developed in the 1930s with the technological developments of the 1980s, noting that just as the perfect technology has never been invented, the perfect regulation has never been written. As we consider the implications of new technologies, we should design a framework that focuses on critical safeguards rather than trying to address every conceivable investment permutation and scenario. The exercise is nothing new, and the same principles that help regulation move from paper certificates to electronic record keeping and from faxes to texts can certainly guide us to accommodate new technologies. I thank you for your participation and attendance today and look forward to the Commission considering next steps.
There we go. We had another commissioner there, not as anti-crypto as the previous one.
Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone.
Too much news on him.
I'm
He didn't
delighted
have a stance on
to
XRP.
have you all here today, and thank you especially to the panelists. We're really looking forward to the discussions, and I'll let you get started here relatively quickly. And I appreciate also Chairman Atkins, Commissioner Ueda, and Commissioner Crenshaw. And Commissioner Crenshaw, thanks for raising some great questions. I hope we'll hear some discussion of those issues at today's on today's panels. And I appreciate especially our moderators, Jeff Dinwiddie and Tiffany Smith, who will be helping us work through some of these difficult issues. Tokenization is rooted in the internet, which revolutionized our lives by enabling the creation of a range of networks. At the base of these networks are software protocols, a set of rules defining how computers and other devices communicate with each other. Protocols built on top of TCP, IP, the protocol that governs the internet, enable applications that facilitate communication and easy access to information. Blockchain and other distributed ledger technology protocols are new internet-based protocols, enabling the creation of new global networks, this time to facilitate the seamless transfer of assets and related data. These protocols commonly rely on cryptography for their operation and security. Novel crypto assets that would not exist but for the underlying protocols live on these networks. So too do traditional assets when they get tokenized. Tokenization fits squarely within the Commission's jurisdiction because it involves formatting traditional assets like stocks and bonds as crypto assets or tokens on a crypto network. Much as earlier internet-based protocols dramatically enhanced our lives by making it easier to communicate and to access information, these cryptographic protocols have the potential to improve our lives through enhanced accessibility and efficiency of the markets for traditional financial assets.
We like her. Look how she's speaking.
Your
Very
smartphone
different.
makes you smarter, and
everyone spam crypto mum in the chat. Crypto mum in the chat.
Similarly, tokenizing traditional assets and putting them on crypto networks makes them smarter. Crypto networks are not only a new type of database or ledger for recording ownership of assets, but also a new type of computing platform that can support applications that allow you to do more with your assets. Smart contracts are self-executing software programs that define important properties of assets and applications running on crypto networks and serve as a portal to the networks of applications supported by these new internet-based protocols. A smart contract can define how and when securities may be purchased, sold, and transferred, as well as automate dividend and interest payments or other distributions. Further, because of the common protocols used to program these smart contracts and the related assets and applications, investors can use tokenized securities seamlessly on or within other smart contract-based applications, including DeFi applications. Removing securities from siloed databases and tokenizing them on open, composable crypto networks mobilizes them and makes them usable in new and enhanced ways. Stablecoins, the first application of tokenization to reach scale, demonstrate the efficiency and accessibility improvements that may arise from the use of crypto networks. Tokenization may provide similar benefits to the securities markets, such as increased operational efficiency, transactional transparency, liquidity and accessibility, faster settlement, and greater investor opportunity. Several tokenized money market products are registered already under the Investment Company Act of 1940, and tokenized private funds similarly issue securities designed to maintain a stable value and provide yield. Using crypto networks to maintain the record of ownership enables securities to be used as collateral in derivatives transactions rather than requiring investors to redeem securities and then post cash as collateral. Tokenized securities also may serve as a means of settlement in the purchase and sale of other crypto assets, including other tokenized securities and peer-to-peer or other types of on-chain transactions. If these assets live on the same network, near instant and simultaneous settlement is possible. As Commissioner Crenshaw discussed, there are reasons why that might not always be something that we want, but I think it's a potential that we should be thinking about. Tokenization cannot reach its full potential without legal clarity. Issuers and transfer agents continue to be unsure about whether a crypto network can be the master security holder file or a component thereof for purposes of the Exchange Act's transfer agent's rules, and even where state law has expressly provided or contemplated the use of a crypto network in connection with the maintenance of securities ownership records. Further, the Commission's special purpose broker-dealer statement, which defines crypto asset security to encompass any security that relies on cryptographic protocols, has created confusion regarding a broker-dealer's ability to custody tokenized traditional securities, even when issuers and transfer agents retain control and can address erroneous or impermissible transactions. The Commission proposed to amend the Advisors Act custody rule to preclude traditional securities that are issued on a public permissionless crypto network from eligibility for an exception from the qualified custodian requirement. We're working on providing legal clarity on these and other questions in a sensible manner. Absent a compelling reason grounded in fact and law, the Commission should treat tokenized securities the same as traditionally issued securities. Under this approach, for example, the type of database used to record ownership of securities does not affect the substance of the securities issued, nor does the use of a crypto network give rise to a new or different type of security. A crypto network can constitute all or part of an issuer's books maintained by its transfer agent. Tokenized mutual fund shares and tokenized privately issued securities should be eligible for exceptions for such securities from the Advisors Act custody rules. Tokenization may raise some legal challenges related, for example, to the integration with DeFi, application of the transfer agent rules, and NMS requirements, use of permissionless networks, and appropriate classification as certificated versus uncertificated securities. We can work through these and other issues with the expert help of today's panelists and other interested members of the public. Again, I think the job that we're trying to do as a regulator is to build the regulatory framework and see how experiments happen, whether they happen, and how they develop. And so I'm looking forward to discussion of these issues. Jeff, handing it over to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you to the Commission, Chairman Atkins and Commissioners.
Moving over to
Crenshaw
Fidelity,
and
Nasdaq,
Ueda.
Invesco, Franklin
We
Templeton.
appreciate the
Here we go.
opportunity to participate in this roundtable, and a big thanks also to the Crypto Task Force and more broadly the agency staff. Just to give folks a sense of the direction of travel of our panel, we're generally going to divide our time into three rough parts. First, some level setting, particularly around some key terms and concepts. Second, discussing both the opportunities and the challenges presented by the existing infrastructure as well as our existing body of law and regulation. And then third, some practical advice for the SEC in terms of moving forward. We have, I'm told, until 3:30, so we have actually a little bit of extra time. And just a bit of housekeeping for our panelists, go ahead and hit your button whenever you're going to talk and the light will come on. A good place to start, just in terms of a spirit of an optimistic future, if each panelist as a kickoff will just go straight down the line, give 2 minutes in terms of how your organization is seeing the opportunity set here longer term. And Will, we'll kick it off with you.
Okay, well, thank you. We would like to start off by, on behalf of Invesco, thanking the Commission for the opportunity to participate in today's tokenization panel. This is a topic that we think is very important to the future of our business as an issuer and an investor. From the vantage point of a leading global investment manager, we think tokenization can unlock the following benefits. First, we think it can enhance shareholder communication, powered by smart contracts that can improve the efficiency of our proxy and our dividend distributions, making shareholder engagement smarter, faster, and more secure. Second, we think there are operational efficiencies that can be pulled out of this technology in key workflows in our investment management process. They're around transfer agency and our custody business. And third, we think that this can help us de-risk some of the aspects of the market by shortening settlement cycles, not saying T0, but by shortening settlement cycles and improving collateral utility. Our core belief is that we don't have to reinvent the regulatory ontology that serves our market so well. We think there's a strong foundation to build from, and we are encouraged by Commissioner Peirce's comments on May 8th, talking to the opportunity to work within a regulatory sandbox and safe harbor that we think will encourage innovation and draw in pilot programs that we're interested in being a part of. So once again, thank you.
We have an ex-Ripple employee on the panel representing BlackRock. We love it. His name is Robert, and we'll wait for that to come through. We've got an ex-Ripple employee, Robert Michnick. He is representing Head of Digital Assets, BlackRock.
Within Fidelity. Fidelity has long been both a investor as well as a technology research and development arm in this space, looking at blockchains and crypto assets from the standpoint of how we may be able to improve the financial solutions that we develop and offer to our investors to help them manage their financial lives. As we think about how this technology can change the way in which we both develop investment products, but also how it is that we may be able to distribute these products. There are a number of ways in which we see opportunities for being able to produce enhanced financial solutions. First, as we see that moving assets on-chain, there are potential new utilities that we would be able to see traditional assets being able to access that today they're not able to access, such as the ability to move and transfer these assets outside of traditional brokerage hours. You have the ability to transfer these assets in a global capital market across both 24/7 as well as 365-day transfers. This allows for more efficient management of capital balance sheets, and from an investor standpoint, the flow of capital becomes much more efficient. As we think about the opportunity to develop new investment structures through which we may be able to pool investor capital to be able to allocate more efficiently, we also are very encouraged by opportunities to bring assets that are traditionally not easily tradable on-chain to make them more tradable across investment products and solutions that we can develop, which then increases diversification and access for investors across a multitude of assets that they would gain access to. So we look forward to continuing to be able to produce and work with this technology and developing new investment products.
Good afternoon. Thank you again, Commission, for having this panel.
Here we go, Nasdaq.
Look forward to an engaging discussion here. Calling back to Chairman Atkins' call, I think we're description of where we're at right now. I think moving from cassette to MP3s, I really think.
Sorry, actually not. This is not Nasdaq. This is Superstate.
To the Apple iStore, and really can start hitting the beat and have some good music here. So, not to beat a dead analogy, but at Superstate, we're seeking to upgrade the capital
I will
markets
sort out my
technology
camera 1
tokenization,
second, please. You can carry on listening.
through care and
Stay with us. Hit the
creativity,
like button.
helping evolve what we consider the national market system. So, like, what does this mean? Presently, a vast majority of securities are held in a centralized database that are controlled by a myriad of intermediaries, and that's proven scalable and resilient, but it's also limiting, dated, and creates a central point of failure. At Superstate, we're looking to serve issuers directly as a transfer agent to enable them to facilitate tokenized equities. And through tokenized equities, you're able to have registered ownership, and that enables, as others have alluded to, peer-to-peer transfers, improved collateral treatment, engagement in lending, DeFi, exchange capabilities, and then wholly new opportunities and use cases for investments, given the fact that these securities are now programmable. It's not just utility, though. It's also improved investor protections and compliance capabilities. And so, as a transfer agent, we're able to ensure that the limited opportunity applications that these securities will engage with in DeFi are both resilient and perform as they intend and say they will. Additionally, only eligible investors are able to engage with the securities.
I've made it worse. I apologize.
Further, as has been alluded to, there will be advancements and more efficiencies in settlement and clearance. And finally, moving corporate governance on-chain will simplify and provide more transparency, so there will no longer be overvoting or undervoting or disputes in who is voting, given the on-chain attributes. Where we see this as being extremely elegant is it does not disrupt the current market structure. It's additive, and it's a choice. If issuers and investors seek and want to engage on-chain, they should have that option, and the technology exists for them to engage. So by engaging with this functionality, we believe capital markets will be able to advance past the ossification of the 1970s market structure and move forward in a less intermediated, more choice.
We are waiting for Ripple ex-employee from BlackRock to speak. That'll be the most important. I'm just trying to sort something out here.
Engaged and leaned into technological advancements, and is also consistent with how America has continued to innovate and be at the forefront. So look forward to an engaging discussion, and thank you for the forum.
Great. Thank you. My name is Una Choi, and I'm from Nasdaq. And I want to echo everybody's thanks to Commissioner Peirce and the Crypto Task Force for talking about this innovation in the context of evolution of the capital markets. And Nasdaq in particular is a reflection of the evolution that has undergone in the financial markets, starting with trading paper certificates to trading electronically to trading wirelessly and now being on the cloud. And within the crypto world, we've been involved in providing ETPs with respect to crypto-based instruments going back to 2015 for the past 10 years through our Stockholm exchange, followed quickly by Ether. And we work closely with both US and European issuers to think about crypto-based exchange products, IBIT being one of them, and with different sort of crypto offerings that could come into the market. And we have been very active in terms of thinking about that in the context also with corporate issuers as well, trying to think creatively about how capital structure can be affected by digital assets and blockchain technology in particular. Within our fintech world, we provide
Head of Nasdaq is talking right now.
Data services to crypto platforms across 6 continents. Also provide trading and market surveillance capabilities and technology solutions, sometimes using Gen AI to different participants in the digital assets ecosystem. So beyond sort of the organizational focus, we are very excited about this new technology, both in terms of tokenization of securities, but also in terms of how this can ease the congestion within the system, whether it's collateral management or some of the other aspects that people have talked about already, and also in terms of modernizing proxy plumbing and processes generally. So I look forward to doing a deeper dive with other panelists today.
Good afternoon. My name is Christian Sabella, and since I work at DTCC, I'm really excited to be in a room where people are using the words like settlement cycle and netting and post-trade settlement. So thank you very much to the Commission, the task force staff, and the backbone SEC staff for organizing this sort of event. From where we sit, we do see a mix of evolutionary and revolutionary dynamics going on here. And that may seem a bit odd, given we are sort of the previously referred to kind of incumbent that's sort of there. But one of the things that this has done for us is make our central securities depository business at DTC very interesting and exciting. Not that it never was, but I think more people are appreciating that now. And it's a welcome relief from constantly talking about central counterparties in other contexts. But we've been, I think, working with this new technology for some time now. Folks who have been following us in this space would have seen us doing projects in the past, like Project Ion, working with basically ledger technologies to see how they do in terms of scaling and really dealing with the increments, intervals, and frankly, just the overall heft that goes into supporting the premier financial market system in the world on the post-trade settlement side. We've learned a lot from that. We did some strategic acquisitions, and we now have a full-fledged digital asset service, which, again, if you keep track on the socials or otherwise, you would have seen us do a collateral mobility experiment just last month that basically started to showcase the tokenization abilities and potential
XRP
that we've
selling
been
off a little bit.
and are looking to basically
Nasdaq moving up.
Explore with
We're waiting for
market
BlackRock
participants as a, again, central industry-owned service provider to basically try to build that forward. When we think about opportunities that tokenization potentially brings to the table here, I'm going to hit on 4 areas.
Ex-Ripple employee over here, his name is Robert.
Again. So the first is settlement cycles.
On the left.
And there, and I think Alex put it well, we're talking about choice for people. Our folks Right now, the standard settlement cycle is T+1, but folks may have different reasons to want a different settlement cycle, i.e. a faster settlement cycle. Is it T0? There are good reasons that were provided in some remarks for why T0 may work for you, T0 may not work for you. From the company's perspective, when we moved to T1, gosh, it feels like a long time ago, but I guess it was just a couple of years ago. The position of the company was, all right, we're at T1 for everyone now, and we'd like to facilitate whatever settlement cycles people want to look at. When we look at the ability of atomic settlement on chains, the ability of smart contracts to basically allow for programmable assets being able to basically do more with your stuff, we see great potential here when it comes to settlement cycles. We also, I appreciate the shout out on 24/5/7 trading. That's, I think, a policy discussion that has kind of happened in, I'll call like the mainstay, but it really merges with discussion of tokenization and digital assets, and I think the Commission would be well served thinking about 24/5/7 trading in the context of both asset classes. The other areas we think about are asset servicing and asset collateral optimization. So as I mentioned, we did showcase some of our potential growing abilities through the last month's collateral experiment, but also corporate actions, all the events where there are multiple intermediaries, manual processes. This technology offers great potential to basically lean out those requirements and basically move things forward. And finally, I think I would want to hit on eligibility. Currently, not all securities are eligible for central clearing. There may be good reasons why you don't want it to be, but I think the technology, the transparency it offers works very well. The wrapper that I think matters for all of this is interoperability. So folks have hit on this before, and I think one of the things I'd be interested in seeing this panel discuss and the Commission consider further is how interoperability is going to work here, because while you may have multiple technologies, multiple tokenization platforms, to achieve some of, I think, the potential benefits that the technology offers, you need some degree of consensus standard setting and agreement. So if everything's on one chain or multiple chains, how is that all going to work? I look forward to discussing that topic and others today.
Thank you very much. I'm Sandy Call. I'm here to speak on behalf of our digital asset unit at Franklin Templeton. Thank you to the chairman and to the commissioners for the wonderful support that they have given us over many years in
They
our
have
digital
an
asset
ETF
journey.
pending,
And we're
one of
very
the biggest
excited to
asset
be here
managers.
today at this moment in time when we are finally taking a common sense approach to thinking about the rules that can govern our future financial ecosystem. One of the things we would like to encourage everyone in this task force and thinking about regulation to consider is that we often get caught thinking about consumer protection and sometimes forget that we have an equal responsibility to ensure consumer opportunity, right? And I think that when you look at what has been happening in our computer age with the key technologies that are shaping this age, computing, cryptography, networks, and communication, these technologies have been evolving since the 1960s. We have to remember the foundation, the system that many people are looking to defend today was created because we lost the ability to keep up with trading one transaction at a time, right? This was the way that we operated in the markets for well over 100 years until the volumes started reaching a point where we could no longer keep up with them, and then we started to create this whole system of netting and book order entry and beneficial ownership accounts. And it worked very well for us, and we used the most modern emerging technology at the time to design it. Today, we have much better technologies that are the ultimate revision and growth of those four foundational technologies. And those technologies are putting us back into a position where we have an opportunity to think about having a system that can go back to trading one transaction at a time, because
XRP
we now
selling
have
off
the
a little bit.
volume. We have technologies able to support
Nasdaq
the volume
holding
and
up
the
near the highs
velocity
of the
and
day.
impose the controls that would be required to do this in a safe way. And so I think that this is an important point to keep in mind, right? The technology itself is enabling us to rethink what is the common sense approach, right? And the common sense approach says that every investor should be able to have as much control over their own assets as possible. Today's account-based system makes this extremely difficult for individual investors. It makes it extremely difficult for high net worth investors and mass affluent investors. Just think about how hard it is sometimes to fund a brokerage.
Franklin Templeton, big asset manager, ETF filed, speaking pro crypto. This is so different to the previous administration. We've got ex-Ripple employee representing BlackRock coming up, XRP's price coming up. Do come in, hit the like button, stay with us, interact in the chat.
Toll takers that add costs to transactions that get passed on to the consumers, and that there is an opportunity to create a better system for those we are charged to protect. We at Franklin Templeton started our journey into blockchain in 2019. We tokenized our money market fund in 2022 and began to run our books and records from our transfer agent, our transaction books and records on public blockchain. We now have deployed our system across 9 different blockchains, and we operate our wallet-based transfer agent system across all of those blockchains every single day. We've been doing so nonstop since 2022, and we have not had a single issue with the way that our system is operating. We are able to provide more accurate calculations to our clients. We are able to provide more efficient reporting. We have lower costs on our funds from being able to eliminate intermediaries. We have more opportunities to expand the classes of assets that we're able to bring into the asset class and diversification pool by being able to take investments that today are investable but difficult to trade and put them into a tokenization wrapper that will allow them to become part of everyday investor portfolios. One of the chairman and one of the commissioners mentioned even IP, right, and other types of rights that can become things that people use in their own portfolios, their own home equity. We are really at a unique moment in time where we can create the opportunity because the technology is now there to allow us to. We look forward to working with the Commission, and we look forward to working with our peers to really help move us towards that new world.
Absolutely amazing. From one of the biggest asset managers.
I'm the Executive Director of the Tokenized Asset Coalition. The Tokenized Asset Coalition is a member-funded nonprofit that consists of 60 or so members coming from all the leading protocols in the space, issuers, from every asset, from stablecoins all the way to things more esoteric like IP rights. Just want to say thanks to the Commission for hosting us here, and it's very encouraging to hear the words that we heard earlier from the various commissioners with the balance that they espoused in those words. So excitement, and hearing Commissioner Peirce say words like composability and interoperability, while the balance from the tone that Commissioner Crenshaw struck. I've been in the space since 2013, and if you told me that I'd be sitting on this panel today back then, I probably would have bought more. But just a moment of reflection for how far we've come, and it's a really, really exciting time. The reason why I was drawn to the space, and one thing I should say is views are my own, not the members. So if I go off piece, they can disclaim. But I started in 2013 when it was mostly just Bitcoin and a few others. And when Ethereum launched and the various technology around programmability started to be built, I started building in the space directly within tokenization. And I was drawn to it from the attributes of programmability, efficiency, transparency, and accessibility, fractionalization, allowing for lower minimums for people to get access to stuff. And a paradox kind of exists today in the market where the lowest risk assets, tokenized assets, stablecoins, and the most speculative assets are the only things that have access to DeFi in any meaningful way. And so there's an entire gap that I would love to see filled with thoughtful application, balanced application of regulation. I say that also with the recognition of having been in this space for over a decade and seeing us shoot ourselves in the foot multiple times and take too much risk on. And if you've been in crypto for as long as I have, a year in crypto is sort of like 10 years in a regular market. And I would like to see that balance come through in whatever we adopt. So one of my goals as the executive director of the Tokenized Asset Coalition, is to provide some balance for our members that are, we all get very bullish. So the other thing that I would say is top of mind for me in my position at the TAC is global interoperability. Commissioner Peirce mentioned this in her remarks last week, but there's definitely this looming kind of silo.
We like Commissioner Peirce, crypto mum, crypto mama.
With various regulators
He likes her as well.
regulations across stable coins and various other assets. I think the SEC is particularly in a great position to take a leadership role on how to regulate securities that are tokenized. And hopefully that can bring about some conversations with regulators globally about how to make this stuff interoperable. Looking forward to participating on this panel, and yeah, very excited to be here.
He liked Crypto Mama. He didn't really like the other commissioner. You heard what he said there.
I'm Christine Moy from
Oh, one
Apollo.
more, and then we get to Robert, former Ripple
for
employee
inviting us and
representing
encouraging this discussion.
BlackRock.
We think the case for tokenization is rooted in its ability to fundamentally modernize how assets are created, distributed, and managed. We think tokenization brings automation and programmability to traditionally manual processes, streamlines operations and reduces costs across the investment lifecycle, and enables automated compliance. More significantly, it enables multi-asset interoperability.
Come on, guys.
allowing
270
different
likes,
types of
700
assets
watching.
from
Let's
private
do better.
markets
Hit
to
that
public
like button.
equities and fixed income
1 second.
to
Hit
be
it.
represented,
Why not?
exchanged, and utilized together on a common infrastructure. So we think this unlocks new efficiencies and opportunities for both issuers and investors. At the same time, tokenization accelerates product innovation, giving institutions the flexibility to design and offer investment products that are more accessible and customizable.
There he is,
with
Robert,
the potential
waiting to
broaden
speak.
access to
Let's
the
see what he says.
diversification and investment benefits of private markets. So we see tokenization as just the next evolution of capital markets, merging the strength of the U.S. markets and our financial system with the programmability, composability, interoperability, and global reach of this digital technology.
He looks like he has something to say. Everyone spam Rob in the chat. Robert is a former Ripple employee, and now he's about to speak.
I'm the head of digital assets at BlackRock, and I want to thank the Commission for hosting this event today, and also to acknowledge the staff with whom we've appreciated the engagement and earnest work over the last many months, and in many cases years on this topic. And also I hope that you'll accept my apology for my contribution to ruining Christmas of 2023 and New Year's of 2024 in the frenetic run-up to the Bitcoin ETP launches that next week. Our purpose at BlackRock is to help more people invest better, including democratizing access to investing by enabling more people to have access to investment opportunities in an efficient way. And we have a strong belief that tokenization and digital assets have a potentially very important role to play in that. Given I'm last on this opening, I won't repeat some of the many thoughtful and incisive points that my fellow panelists have made here, but rather I'll focus just on one specific tangible example to illustrate the potential.
Martyn's going to end the stream if we don't get the likes.
And that is in the context of the tokenized stable value yield fund that we issued as a firm in March of 2024 in concert with Securitize, who serves as our tokenization agent in that space. We think tokenization agent is a more suitable term here than transfer agent in this context. And what a stable value yield fund issued natively on a blockchain enables is the breaking of a long-standing trade-off that investors were forced to make between liquidity in terms of a cash asset that could be used in real time for settlement or payments, and access to full yield. In this case, we have seen the enablement of full U.S. Treasury yield through the tokenized yield fund, but through the properties of digital assets that make it possible to convert instantaneously into and out of stablecoins, which function as digital cash, that in effect the investor no longer makes that trade-off between yield and liquidity and has the real-time efficiency of both. Today, that's accessible just to institutional investors, but we are optimistic that in time that will become accessible to investors of all sizes and types, and also eventually that the benefits of tokenization, which many panelists have spoken to already, can be extended to additional asset classes as well. So we're very much looking forward to the discussion today.
Well, thanks for that.
Nothing about XRP but
everybody.
bullish
Commissioner
signals.
Crenshaw, you'll recall, and she raised a number of thoughtful questions. One of them is actually a great place to continue our discussion in terms of level set. She asked, what does tokenization mean? And so let's go through some of those basics. Alex, we'll start with you, and Johnny, maybe build on that, and we'll take it from there.
Maybe I'll just start here. I think the way, and Commissioner Crenshaw laid out that there might be a myriad of definitions, but the way I'm looking at the tokenization, and welcome for feedback, is it really is just an evolution of dematerialization. So it allows for registered ownership and programmability, but it really is you owning the security. And so that is...
They're going to tokenize on the XRPL ledger. There's no better alternative.
By blockchains, right? And so blockchains are really just a virtual machine. And then in addition, there's this overlay of smart contracts, which can create additional functionality, which is that programmability, which is the buzzword that many have spoken about. And so I really think, and Commissioner Peirce alluded to, the smartphone makes you smarter. A new file format for your securities enables new functionality like better collateral or actual utility in owning your assets and securities. So that's really what I think of when I say tokenization. It's just a new file format. And then maybe just to fill out the picture, we started with certificated securities. That was the file format that was used and appreciated for a period of time. Those, as was alluded to, were kind of became less in vogue when there was additional optionality and the crisis of the paperwork crisis of the 1970s. And what happened was a great migration from certificates to immobilized securities. We think, and has been likely will play out, is tokenization is the new file format, which again allows for more programmability rather than just sitting on a centralized database. You can attach additional functionality and uses like compliance features and or payment of dividends or corporate actions and the like.
Yeah, just to build on that, I can offer a framework that's potentially helpful. And we published this about a year and a half ago called the Spectrum of Asset Tokenization. And if you think about the basic attributes of an asset that lives in the real world, you want to be able to prove that you own the asset, enforce legal rights, track the ledger of transfers. We do that traditionally on paper. In my prior existence as a lawyer, I did that a lot on paper.
Do stick with us. We're going to do a full analysis of XRP's price, the crypto price, the rundown until the end. So we're waiting for more analysis from the ex-Ripple employee, Rob. We're listening to one of the most bullish acts from the SEC that we've seen ever. This whole SEC roundtable is very bullish. We are trying to listen into the details. Stay with us throughout the end. Please do hit the like button.
And that would be like a decentralized finance protocol, like a lending protocol, for instance. And then you can have flavors in between as well. So I agree with everything Alex said, and I think each asset might have a different flavor of tokenization to take into consideration. For instance, an intangible right could be easily natively issued, have all legal rights kind of attached to the contract itself, whereas physical gold can never be natively digitally issued. Only the token can be, but the gold will always have to live in the real world. So maybe that's helpful.
Thanks. And Christian, as we're thinking broadly in terms of basic level setting, prefatory points, anything else worth adding from your end?
Yeah, so I think we've had a helpful start to the discussion. One other way I think, or another analytical framework that's helpful is, particularly when we are talking about so-called real-world assets, which for many years have just been electronically represented. So we're moving sort of from electronic to digital here. Various litmus tests that basically tell you, to the points that Johnny and Alex raised, that you, at the end of the day, do have a legally enforceable ownership property right in the tokenized security. So, this is, I think, important in terms of thinking about, if we tokenize an asset, what is the treatment of that asset? And for us at DTCC, this is always sort of like the question lurking in the background in a distressed market or a default scenario. In other words, if you do have a tokenized representation of an asset, is it going to walk and talk and swim and quack exactly like a security interest that you might have with an electronic or an immobilized asset today? Or if you were to basically have an actual paper certificate or an otherwise transferable physical representation of the asset. So I think that's important to keep in mind. The other thing, which I'll defer to my colleagues who are more, I think, focused on the trading side, but in terms of issues around, if the asset's tokenized, how does that asset act and trade or otherwise get utilized relative to the prior or the ongoing parallel existing asset? These are issues I think the Commission has thought about in other contexts in terms of dual share listings. Folks have alluded to the potential NMS considerations, an economically equivalent tokenized asset
XRP is slightly selling off.
A so-called traditional
I'll
one.
talk about the price.
What
It
does that
doesn't
do
matter.
for capital
It does
formation and
not
so
matter.
forth? These, I think, are the more in the weeds questions that can be useful in really teasing out, if you say you have a tokenized asset, is it really a tokenized asset, or is it a derivative of the asset in tokenized format?
And just really quickly on that note, it does get really complicated when you try and keep both sets of records, so the on-chain book and the off-chain book. And I built a company, my last company in the space, specifically within private credit, and it was always trying to get to a digitally native issuance of something so that it was less of a less chance for failure, basically, when one ledger doesn't match the other one.
Una, Christine, anything you want to add?
Sure. I think it all starts with taxonomy. We view it as sort of the foundational underpinning in terms of how digital assets and tokenization can be integrated into the existing system. And when you think about the investor choice, investor best interests, and investor protections as our North Star, and and start with that, having a clear and predictable taxonomy will help us to understand how best to adjust the rules and regulations to make sure that the new innovation fits into the space. And we've been able to do that in the past with different, not just with innovations in technology, but also innovations in products and processes as well. So we've submitted a letter on taxonomy and other questions that were raised in Commissioner Peirce's February statement, and we have certain categorizations of it. But for today's discussion, I think it's important to think about financial security and whether distinctive sort of characteristics should be laid out from within the financial securities category. And to paraphrase Commissioner Peirce's statement is in that digital representation of a security or issuing a stock on a digital ledger does not change the substance of that security. And I think that's a very important basic premise to start with, because then we can figure out what the rules of the road are with respect to how we then fit that into the existing rules and regulations, and also think about how to calibrate and adjust and update the rules based on that distinction. And then going down even further, I think there is a distinctive sort of characteristics with respect to private securities and public securities in particular. To point out the obvious, obviously there are disclosure requirement differences with respect to private and company issuers, but also there are different rights, privileges, and obligations of the shareholders as well. And over time, of course, there's been additional mechanisms and listing standards and other things that have been built all to serve the investors in terms of providing reliable access, best price, best kind of environment for them to trade in. So, we should think about that in that context, and we should think about it in terms of, different mechanisms that have developed over time.
Who wants an XRP t-shirt giveaway? We've got a lot of viewers. I want to give back. It's a good day. Shall we do an XRP t-shirt giveaway? Let me know in the chat.
Corporate actions, not just because speed is lacking, but just so that there is orderly dissemination of material news to the public markets. There are things to think about in terms of trade halt mechanisms, both for volatility and for regulatory considerations as well. And then there's, of course, adjudication and reasons why certain trades are broken due to errors and other issues. So when you sort of think about that in the context of facilitating capital formation with clear rules of the road for issuers, investors, and market participants, then we can start out with a very clear, predictable taxonomy and then expand our discussions from then on.
And just to build upon my fellow panelists' comments, I think the main thing for us to note in this discussion is that tokenized securities should not be confused with bare digital assets. I think we take that for granted, but worth noting, because tokenized securities we think of as permissioned compliant assets with embedded smart contracts to enforce transfer restrictions, legal constraints, and regulatory rules like AML, KYC, investor status, jurisdiction, et cetera. Despite being permissioned and compliant assets, we think about them in the context of operating on secure and sound, permissionless public blockchain infrastructure. A lot of lingo there, so certainly taxonomy is very important. But the main concept is, having compliant securities on public infrastructure with the right controls codified in. And then, building further on, kind of interoperability, I think the really interesting thing that we don't spend enough time thinking about is that, we really have an opportunity, to Sandy's point, to think about how we, kind of enable the best investments for the most people, as Robbie stated in his mission. The idea that tokenization, regardless of where it comes from, regardless of if you're a native tokenization or if you're, an asset in custody that's being tokenized or everything in between, is that you're actually what you're actually doing is bringing all of these different assets together, as I mentioned, from private markets to public equities and fixed income, onto the same operating system and enabling programmability and composability across those, which then enables us to build comprehensive, holistic portfolios that can be customized to a broader range of investors for their desires, right? So, it's important to understand the mechanics of how we tokenize and the different nuances of the different ways we tokenize, but the net output is that we can have more assets together on the same operating system to build better investment products for the future.
Well, thanks. And just to pause for a second, taxonomy, other
if you want the crypto giveaway, vote on the poll and hit the like button.
If anybody has any other points they want to make or react to anything anybody said.
Just maybe raise a question on, because we use the term interoperable a lot. I think it has a number of meanings. When I use the word interoperable, I mean tokenized securities interoperable with their book entry version that's held, in the TradFi sense. But I think there's another layer of interoperability where we're talking about, there's a myriad of blockchains, Solana, Ethereum, et cetera, and interoperability between those. I think it probably means all of the above, but I think both of those are important to be mindful of when we're thinking of and discussing interoperable. But I don't know if there's other points there.
Just want to add back the regulatory interoperability is important too. Because even if you can technically move across chains, doesn't mean you can actually do anything with it on the other chain.
Sandy, we'll turn to you in a second. Regulatory operability, anyone want to chime in? Any other thoughts on that specific point? Christian?
Yeah, so there's different layers there, I think. One layer that I think everyone's very sensitized to, and I know this organization and related organizations are working on, is just across the diversified regulatory framework we have in the United States between securities products, non-securities products, capital market activity, prudential activity. The other layers, though, I think are a bit more nuanced. It goes back, I think, again, to this question of whatever taxonomy you come up with, you need to make sure that that taxonomy, I think, takes into account and respects other legal regimes that interact with our markets. So take collateral, for example. If we want to unlock the potential for tokenized assets to serve as a collateral optimizing force, we have to make sure that the underlying, and in this case, it's usually state commercial law regimes. The Uniform Commercial Code comes up, and we can have a discussion about Article 8 and Article 12 if folks want. But generally, you need to make sure that's compatible. I kind of take the point from what Johnny's saying. You can move it from one chain to the other, but if I can't perfect my security interest in the tokenized collateral on the other chain, it's not really going to do very much for me. So I think those are factors to keep in mind as you're coming up with the taxonomy to make sure they speak to that broader ecosystem. The existing framework has done that very well up to this point, so I'm not, I think, suggesting a new problem or even a problem per se. It's just a consideration that I think will take the potential very far forward.
Sandy?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes these conversations, even for me who understands everything everyone's saying up here, get a little complicated. So I just wanted to go back to the absolute basics of it. A token is a wrapper, as someone said here. It's a new file format. But what is unique is that you can embed the contract that governs the regulation and governs the use and governs the transferability and governs the legal protections of that asset right in the asset. And the ledger that you record the transaction on can read and administer all of those terms that are in the contract that is embedded into the asset. And so if you think about today, there are hundreds of contracts that people need to have in place to be able to trade securities. And those contracts have to be reconciled back to the asset itself. And there are dozens and dozens and dozens of teams in every organization
XRP
whose
falling
entire
slightly.
job is to
We are
reconcile
going to do
back
a
and forth
giveaway for a
between
t-shirt.
these
Stay with
contracts
us.
that govern
We're
the
gonna
use and all
do
the
something
other
good for everyone
aspects of
watching.
the asset that I discussed.
Please
and
do hit
the
that like
asset.
button. We will do it
And the
at
big innovation here, the big
600 likes. 600 likes, and we'll do the giveaway. That's when it will start. So do hit the like button. Let everyone know in the chat. That's 600 likes as people join. As people join, we're going to do it. 600 likes. We do the giveaway for the XRP t-shirt. There'll be more than one benefit. So please do stay with us.
Interventions and without as many problems that can potentially come from all of the problems that come with people trying to do things and move between
Here is the link to become a member.
Systems. And so it really is a huge enhancement beyond just being a new wrapper, right? It really is a way to make
XRP falling. We'll do a full analysis in a bit.
More effectively.
Robbie, let's go to you and let's transition now thinking about the concrete opportunities, what's working well, where are there gaps, both in terms of thinking about the infrastructure and the legal and regulatory regime. Talk to us in terms of what you're seeing at BlackRock in terms of the existing infrastructure out there and opportunities.
This is an ex-Ripple employee working at BlackRock.
Sure, Jeff. Well, certainly there are many parts of our existing market infrastructure that work quite well today, right? And I think that in some respects, some of the slow-ish progress that has been made in terms of tokenization adoption to date, while some of it may be related to regulatory clarity that is now trying to be addressed, some of it is a function of the fact that if the existing market infrastructure works pretty well, there's a high hurdle to migrating to a new technology standard, even if there's a recognition that that new technology standard is an improvement over the existing paradigm. But there are certainly areas where we believe there have been significant step change improvements enabled by tokenization that give strong conviction in the merits of making that migration. And one such example where we're seeing early benefits realized, but there's potential to do so at a much greater scale, is in the context of collateral, where tokenization makes it possible to
Collateral,
to pledge, to
RLUSD.
rehypothecate, to have transparency into, to liquidate in near real time various forms of collateral instruments. And if you take one example today where the existing infrastructure and regulatory regime is not really in a position to support this, it's in the usage, for example, of money market funds as collateral, where the existing paradigm makes that difficult to do at scale. But when you think about tokenization, we have the opportunity to migrate from a world where to actually post a money market fund as collateral, you first have to liquidate it, deliver cash, and then instruct reinvestment into a money market fund, which is obviously a very inefficient and friction-filled system, which can also add sell pressure in times of market stress into the underlying funds and their underlying collateral. And now, with this new technology paradigm, there's an opportunity to do this through a direct, nearly real-time pledge that's
XRP falling, support at $2.50. Support at $2.49, $2.50.
Stable coins as digital cash instruments. And that has wide-reaching potential implications across many areas where collateral is a critical part of our financial infrastructure, including derivatives, repo, and securities lending.
Sandy, over to you.
If I could add to what Robbie said, because I 100% agree with the points that he made, take it even one step further, right? If we tokenize the underlying securities that sit in the government money market fund, and we come up against another 2008 type event where there is uncertainty about who is going to be able to access that underlying collateral. I mean, don't forget, this tied up some of the lawsuits around Lehman Brothers for 2 or 3 years to be able to figure out who owned the underlying collateral. If we could immediately move from the tokenized money market fund and into the tokenized assets that sit within that fund, we can immediately get the collateral and begin to unwind all of the obligations in the marketplace, right? So this is another improvement where having these off-chain assets and these
very
contracts
important
that
point
govern
just
it
made there.
constantly make us go back in periods of stress and try and figure out how can we accelerate the return of collateral, how can we accelerate the unwinding of positions. And tokenization can give us far superior answers to those problems. And ones that move at the speed of the market so that there would be less stress in the market because you can have immediate dissolution of a fund and immediate distribution of its underlying assets. Right? So these are points that often get overlooked in why today's systems don't work very well. And this is someplace I think that we would see massive enhancements if we were to move in this direction on a broader basis.
Johnny?
Yeah, I just want to add, there's a really great example of what Sandy just mentioned at work during one of the biggest crypto market shocks of the entire time I've been in crypto. Terra Luna was a synthetic stablecoin that crashed, and I'll make no judgment about how it was built, but in decentralized finance, which housed a bunch of loan transactions by smart contract, collateral was sold and liquidated, and lenders were repaid pursuant to the terms of the smart contract, even though there was a massive amount of volume that hit the system at that time. Everybody got repaid, and everything worked the way that it was supposed to. So we've seen time and time again that what Sandy is describing works really well and in real time.
Una?
Yep. So I think we all kind of share the goal of fungibility, interoperability as a achievement that we want to have with respect to tokenization. And I think what's also important to remember is that that probably is going to require a methodical peeling of the onion in terms of how we get there, because we all want to try to get to that place. So, you know, when you think about sort of what we have now, there are aspects of the system that are resilient and robust and really provides a great opportunity for investors to make decisions, even when there is unexpected news like we had on April 7th, in terms of being able to make financial decisions in a very quick way. So I think the big, question mark is how can we preserve the benefits of those mechanics and market characteristics, and then apply it and integrate this new technology into the system in a seamless way for wider
600 likes and we do the XRP t-shirt giveaway. We will do the analysis on the chart shortly, and we've got a very special event planned in just under an hour.
statutes. And I think while some of the jurisdictions like Delaware and Texas have adopted blockchain technology as part of their and allows corporations to adopt that technology for stock ledgers and corporate records, there's still probably room in terms of additional work to be done in terms of making sure that that is available to the corporations. And then when you're looking at the securities laws, separate and apart from just offering registrations under the 33 Act, there's a bit of work to be done with respect to the 34 Act in terms of the registration of a security under the Exchange Act and what that means and what the thresholds and triggers and the privileges and the obligations of being a 34 Act security really means, not just for the issuers, but also for the investors as well. And then, there are sort of ancillary, but just as important things to think through in terms of how that also interplays with regulatory regime under NESMIA and cover securities and the blue sky laws. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. And so I think we have a little bit of work to do with the staff at the SEC, and I think we're all ready to roll up our sleeves and think through those matters. But I do want to end with an opportunity to just build on what Robbie said about collateral management. I think there's a real opportunity here to ease congestion with respect to proxy plumbing and processes. When you think about tokenization or DLT technology in particular,
XRP heading down, Bitcoin's heading down. It's not XRP's fault, it's that Bitcoin crypto market heading down, coming into support. Let's see what happens.
Which already seems a bit obsolete given the T+1
Nasdaq breaking out to the upside.
The special dispensation that is being given to special meetings.
Hit the like button. 600 equals giveaway.
To address the gap between issuers and objecting beneficial owners without giving up on the privacy rights of the holders, and also addressing broker-dealer considerations as well. And then, of course, there are real opportunities for dissemination of information, proxy materials to the investors in a quicker way, cheaper way, as well as thinking about how blockchain technology can be used to tabulate votes, audit them, and have real-time information. So I think those are really interesting and exciting ways to think about tokenization and DLT in particular.
Alex?
I just want to touch upon, collateral and proxies are fantastic use cases. I also would be remiss not to highlight that the technology also can enable fantastic lending of your actual securities, and then additionally exchange that can happen in a much more economic way. So lending right now, you're subject to your broker, and that's the only person you can really utilize for a borrowing venue. But within crypto that exists right now, the founder of Superstates, Robert Leshner, he created Compound, which is one of the first DeFi lending protocols and has done billions and
Oh, I've just noticed this. Martyn's got a goal up. 4 minutes and 50 seconds left. promote the stream and tell the world about XRP. If you do want to support the channel, if you can do a super chat and we can celebrate, do consider doing that. Thank you.
You know, market makers have been printing money by creating price improvement, and maybe we can touch upon Reg NMS later on. But at the end of the day, a system of trade doesn't, you know, and maybe we take a step back. 1975 amendments, they didn't envision one central limit order book as a national market system, right? They envisioned a subsystem and various other integrated systems that work together as being a national market system. If they had envisioned one central limit order book, we wouldn't have a myriad of exchanges, and we wouldn't have the advancements of the early 2000s into the ATS world, and we wouldn't have where we're sitting right now, where there's the ability for decentralized exchanges to allow for peer-to-peer interaction and the ability for you actually to directly earn some return from providing liquidity. And so I think obviously low-hanging fruit is collateral. Low-hanging fruit is peer-to-peer in a direct manner. But additionally, enhanced through a protocol.
Got our first one.
There's an ability to do
through
a
a
lot
super
more
chat.
in different things.
XRP just sit and
so
wait.
I think that is, we would be remiss if we don't touch upon that in the benefits of tokenization.
Cynthia?
So you actually said something that really strikes me as an important point. We talk a lot about the technology, but you just talked about financial primitives. And so, you know, a point that we talk a lot about is finance is still finance. You know, at the end of all of the conversations
Brian
around the
Bynum donated
technicalities
$5 through a super
things that
chat.
this technology
Best
can do,
channel in the world and elsewhere.
And what this technology and moving
Thank you
assets
very much.
on-chain,
Oh, can we do it? Can we promote it? Let me go here. We might be able to do this. We've got 2 minutes and 46 seconds left. Can we hit the goal? I think we can. We've got enough people here. If you support the channel, if you support XRP, if you want this to go out to a wider audience, please do consider doing a super chat, and it will say your name on the screen and your chat. So please consider doing that.
That will, you know, create more direct access for individuals to use their assets in ways that today are limited by the intermediaries, you know, with which they are, you know, currently engaged. And that, you know, we think of as tremendously an improvement for access to investments and capital.
No, Sandy?
I just wanted to also bring out one other, I think, very important use case that we are seeing in real time, which is the way that we calculate what we owe shareholders today is really based on the next morning's shareholder record, right? Because we need this time to reconcile the shareholder record, we need this time to record the shareholders. And so when we award interest on a fund or dividends or corporate actions on a fund, we're awarding that the next day. And in the case of money market funds, we accumulate those awards over the period of a month and we pay them out monthly, right? This is a very inefficient way of doing this because we have built
Hugo
our
Papenfus
blockchain
donated
transfer
14 South
agent
African rand
on
through a super
blockchain,
chat.
and we are settling
Thank you very
every
much,
single
Hugo.
transaction as it occurs. We are
Welcome
able to
from the United
calculate
Kingdom.
our
You're from
shareholder
South
record
Africa.
in real
Amazing.
time, and we're able to break our shareholder record out by increments of the day. We've chosen to use 1 second increments. So, you know,
600
for
likes, we'll do a giveaway.
who come in and they put
You
money
can do a super chat. Let's
into
promote
a
this to
money
the
market
world.
fund in the morning, but they
It will get shared
needed
out to more
pull that
people.
because there were unexpected expenses that they needed to cover later in the day. Right, they
Matthias
are
donated
unable
50
to get any
Norwegian
of the
kroner through a
interest
super
for
chat.
that period
Let's
of
tell
the
them
day
so
that
they
they
can
held
FOMO
the
him.
money market fund, because at the close they were not
Matthias,
a
thank you
shareholder
very
of
much.
record. With the new way that we're doing this via smart contracts and tokenization, we're able to create an exact record. So if that corporate treasurer held that money market fund for 4 hours, 32 minutes, and 17 seconds of the trading day, they would get 4 hours, 32 minutes, and 17 seconds of the interest.
Worldy,
And we pay it out every
donated
single
$5
day
through a super
in
chat.
incremental new
Just
issuance of the
subscribed.
token,
Thanks for
including
covering the
Saturdays,
round table.
Sundays, and holidays. Right, this is a huge...
Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't done so already, please do subscribe. We cover all crypto news, XRP especially.
Investors who held tokenized funds. It is something that is not available today, especially when you think about long weekends, right? If you purchase a money market fund on a Thursday, that doesn't really get settled until the following Monday if it's a 3-day weekend, or the following Tuesday if you pick it on a Friday and Monday's a holiday. These are all inefficiencies that we just all live with in today's system that we do not need to live with going forward.
Well, we keep touching on it, and let's now drill down a little bit in terms of regulation. We're through a couple different threads here. And Christine, I'll start with you, then maybe go to Christian. As you're looking at the landscape for regulation, what's good, what's working well, and what are impediments out there for the Commission to think about?
Sure. We think one of the most compelling regulatory opportunities in this context of tokenization is the modernization of the transfer agent rules. As we mentioned earlier with tokenized securities, like the core compliance functions like KYC and AML and jurisdictional limits, investor accreditation, can be embedded directly into the smart contracts and automated. So what that means is that, essentially smart contracts are doing the transferring. But we think that there still requires a regulatory layer. I think you said it well when you said digital transfer agent or tokenization agent, is basically a function for this new infrastructure that can help manage edge cases like wallet recovery or freezes, sanctions compliance, and complex corporate action. So we think that there's a real opportunity to, enhance that definition. We also think that permissionless public blockchain should be recognized as official record of ownership. I think there was mention about duplicative record keeping that's required. And so being able to clarify that specifically would eliminate the duplicative off-chain record keeping, streamline operations, and unlock the efficiencies that tokenization in digital assets has promised. Another key area that we think about often in tokenized securities is the 3-step process. We think that, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning, tokenized securities are neither crypto commodities nor bearer assets, and have the smart contracts with the embedded transfer restrictions, so should meet the 15C3 possession and control requirements. And so we think assets should be eligible to be custodied and traded by broker-dealers without triggering the 3-step process. Additionally, self-custody, I think this was kind of mentioned in opening comments, self-custody should be an investor choice, should be permitted when chosen by the investor. It enables direct access to innovation, reduces intermediary fees, and supports user control without compromising regulatory oversight. And then, when it comes to settlement, we think blockchains offer, great automation and transparency. And so we think tokenized securities can and should be settled using stablecoins, just as cash is used in traditional finance, without imposing extra regulatory burdens, simply because the payment rails are digital. So those are just like some of the areas that at least us tokenization nerds spend a lot of time thinking about.
Christian, anything?
Yeah, so that was a pretty thorough list, but I think what I think I would add to it, and I think this kind of, I'm going to go back. I know it feels like we've kind of beaten it a little bit too much, but the interoperability point. So a lot of the potential efficiencies that have been highlighted by folks on the panel are all great and well, I think, in sort of unique sort of environments where you have a universe of actors or parties who can perfectly kind of control what the environment is, particularly in terms of, like, as Alex alluded to, like, there's different sorts of chains technologies out there. There's different sorts of programming languages. So if folks are making those choices on sort of a disparate basis, you have to worry about, like, the issue of fragmentation, and something that I think current regulatory approach over the years has done a really good job of is dealing with, like, market liquidity. So we don't want to kind of go back or create, like, a new set of problems where if we allow, 1,000 tokenized ecosystems to bloom, they can't interact and interoperate with each other really well. Now, I'm only familiar with one context where the Commission attempted to try to address interoperability, and it was in the very narrow area of central matching. But I think it's fair to say that's not really an area where a regulator sort of prescribing how interoperability is going to work did very well, because I speak as someone at DTCC. There's only one central matching service today. But I think if you look to basically really unlock the potential of this and scale it to the level of a national market system or a national clearance and settlement system, outside of just reducing inefficiencies within specific asset classes or regulatory ecosystems, you really need to think about how do we ensure that the market is dynamic enough that if I have my assets on one chain and Una has her assets on the other chain,
this is the
we want to
crypto
interact
task
with each
force
other, it
headed
doesn't
by
matter
the
that the
SEC.
chains are different, that they have different protocols, that that basically for us it's just as seamless as all the benefits everyone's been describing. So that's one thing. The other thing I would bring up, and this is kind of a mixed bag, because on the one hand, a lot of regulation, particularly I would say in the Exchange Act world for market intermediaries like ourselves, is that on paper we have a lot of flexibility to adopt reasonably designed policies and procedures to take care of topic X, Y, Z. Well, in the technology space, that's not always as flexible as you would think, particularly with new and emergent technologies. So, and I'm not even thinking of ledgers. There's other technologies that have come up over time, AI, cloud, all sorts of things, right? And there's obviously a very legitimate concern, which I think will persist in the future, about resiliency, about availability, about safety. I say this as someone who took the train from northern New Jersey today as opposed to other options. And so effectively, I think what we need to think about, I've seen in the public comment file, you take regulation SCI, seems like very strong medicine for trying to sort of get something off the ground. But some sort of directional guidance or clarity around how market participants are going to start using these new technologies in a way that on the one hand supports market resilience, liquidity, and the great public good we have of the U.S. financial markets, versus something that is not too overly prescriptive, I think is something that's needed, because it's just been
we get best price in the market at high speed, high capacity, in the way that we would with traditional securities today to benefit our end investors. Who should determine or unlock the interoperability challenges? That's something that we think we should ask of the commission, or is that something that we as an industry should coalesce around, a la the fixed network and what we've seen there?
Yeah, so I lean more towards it should be people on this panel and people in this room. I think what I am suggesting is, though, that probably what would be useful is for the commission to consider laying out some high-level guideposts or considerations. Like, what are the things that interoperability should accomplish? What are things that are considered to be at odds with interoperability, so that at least we have, it's kind of like another taxonomy point. We have a common set of principles that we can use to dialogue with each other about what interoperability looks like.
I also think there's a disclosure point in there too, Christian. So as an issuer of a tokenized asset, if you're trying to design risk factors, you should probably take into account the network that you're issuing on and make sure that the risks of that network are clear to the people that are purchasing your security.
But there are available answers to these issues that are being brought up. I mean, we operate across 9 different blockchains, 4 different programming languages across those 9 different blockchains. We, as the transfer agent, have built a wallet-based system that is able to internalize any transfers across blockchains. We have an allocation system that really evaluates the characteristics of each blockchain to see if it meets certain standards.
We are going to do the giveaway. We are at 598 likes, 2 more. And then the chart analysis, XRP's falling.
And enhance certain of their security characteristics to be able to feel that they are a sufficient location where we have trust in the technology that it will operate as expected. So we're solving these issues in real time at our firm, and I think a lot of our learnings could be very quickly adapted across the industry. The one other point I'd add, I think, is that it got a little glossed over, but I think it's critical. There are some new models. There are some automated market-making models. We hear so much about all the applications of agentive AI and how people are deploying AI into their investment processes, and everyone seems to think this is a great idea. And yet we have these new pooled investment opportunities where any participant can join in a liquidity pool, and we seem to be ignoring the opportunity there to get over some of the fragmentation that we have in the marketplace today by letting people join liquidity pools and benefit by adding liquidity into the pools. And so I think that we also need to go back to my very early, this should come back in the end to not just how do we protect the consumer, but how do we create opportunities for the consumer. And this is one where there is a tremendous opportunity to let them into models that have only been preserved for the most niche of financial players in the past. And I think one of our responsibilities as an industry is to think about how to really create that more equal playing field.
Just to answer Will's question, I think it's also important to think about corporate issuers' perspectives here as well. We should think about how many of them who do not really interact on a daily basis with the financial ecosystem, other than for the fact that they have registered public securities and that they trade, they're going to want to have clear, rules of the road, not just for themselves, but for the intermediaries and for the market participants and for those who are supporting the market. So just going back to everybody's sort of comments about vertical sort of silos and a potential for regulatory arbitrage with different sets of rules, I think we need to just make sure that there are clear sets of rules, treat like assets alike, treat similarly situated market participants in the same way. And that's going to give comfort to the corporate issuers who are going to be part of this new technology, who are going to have to be the consumers of the new technology as well. And I think that's going to help us sort of think about wider exception if we're able to have standardized sort of practices and rules and regulations.
Question for Will. Thinking about calibrating regulatory requirements. If we think about a tokenized NMS stock, should regulatory obligations and requirements change? Should they be modified? Talk about that.
Well, our view would be that the regulatory requirements for an NMS stock should not change just because the product chassis has been changed or the security chassis has been changed. We do think we have a strong regulatory framework to build off of. It's not perfect, but I think the foundation's there. And through regulatory innovation, I think we can adjust for some of the things that we've talked about. One of them was the interoperability discussion that Christian just teed up, and so we won't go back into that. We have talked about coexistence, where we have a TradFi listing of a security sitting side by side, a digital security, and having that under a common regulatory framework, I think is fundamental to having a continuous market where natural arbitrage mechanisms can come into play and make sure that end investors are getting the best price in the market. I do think there's also this sort of issue of who can tokenize a security, or from an issuer perspective, who can tokenize a fund, an ETF, or a security that's been listed. And we have seen instances that more, I'll say on a global basis, that it's been a challenge, as to what that means. So bringing it into an NMS that we see in there where credit could become a problem, where a platform and protocol, is an underlying credit exposure to the participants on that, and then the accessibility issues that we talked about before, and understand the price consequence of being able to interface with those at high speed. So those are some of the big things that we think about.
Una, anything to add on that one?
No, I agree with what Will has said, and I've sort of touched on that in terms of sort of the current practices that we already have that gives predictability to the investors and corporate issuers and other market participants as well. So I think it's really important for us to just think about all of those benefits and just put it into the context of the existing system and just putting it into the context of some of the numbers, especially given that we've seen some record volume in the month of April, and I know we had a busy day earlier today as well. So, Nasdaq alone during the week of April 7th traded $1.2 trillion. And just on the 7th alone, there were probably, more than 900 million messages within a given minute. So when you think about sort of the volume and the traffic that is involved in the current system, we just want to make sure that we're very thoughtful in terms of how to provide those benefits to all the participants as we move forward.
Let's talk for a moment. Oh, Alex.
Could I just hop in? So I think I agree with what Will was saying with regard to Reg NMS, but I think
We're going to do is there's breaking news in the markets. This is going to go on for a couple more hours, so we're gonna take a break from it. We've got the sentiment. We'll be doing a follow-up video on exactly what's happened. But the general tune right now from this panel, industry experts, ex-Ripple employees, is very bullish, very good. Tokenization is the next thing. Who's the best at it? Ripple. Where are they going to do it? XRP. In my opinion, we saw the commissioners talk at the beginning. Crypto Mum came out and she said a lot of good things. We had Paul Atkins come out and say good things. We had one anti-crypto commissioner come out, and Johnny from the panel called her out on it. What we're going to do is a chart analysis, and because we got 600 likes, we're going to do the merch giveaway. So I'm going to make this very quick, and you're going to get it or you're not going to get it. Here we go. So here is the t-shirt that we're giving away. So I'm going to give you the link. You have to listen to the instructions. There's no, if you don't get the discount code or if you do it wrong, that's not my fault. We can't sort it out later. You have to listen now. Here is the link for the t-shirt we're giving away. I'm going to put it in the chat. Here is the link. This specific t-shirt, add it to your basket. Once you add it to your basket, choose the color, choose the size, whatever you want, add it to your basket. As soon as you've added it to your basket, you can fill out all the details. You can start doing that now. Quick. If you're not fast enough, you might not get it. Go onto the website, click on that link. You've got the XRP, choose your size, choose the color, add it to your basket. Not only are we going to do one for free, and there's a lot of people watching, so we're going to do a significant discount on other ones as well. So we're going to get onto the XRP chart, and we're going to have to push that back slightly. We'll do it in 5. We'll do it in 3 minutes. There we go, 5 minutes. So analysis is coming up. Merch giveaway first. You've got the link for the merchandise. There it is. Click on that link. Go to the t-shirt. Choose your size. Choose your color. Put it in. Art, caffeine. There is no clickbait at all. I'm telling you exactly what's going on. It's the SEC Roundtable. It's a picture of the commissioner, and our target for this bull run, $10. What is that? That's good clickbait. I'm not doing what other YouTubers do and put $10,000 and random stuff. I'm telling you exactly what's going on in the video. Anyway, side comments. So what else? So yes, there's the t-shirt. Someone's going to get it for free. There's going to be 2 people. 3. Let me check how many people can get it for 50% off as well. We're doing it in tiers as well. 2% get it for 50% off. Then we've got 25% off as well, and these are basically at cost. Once it gets down to 25%, we are actually still losing money. So 25%, there's 6 people that can use that, and if you also wanted to get it for 10% off, 15 people can get that. So 10% off is the safest one to go for. 25% off as well. You could probably have a good chance. I wouldn't try getting the 100% because that would happen very quickly. Anyway, that's the t-shirt. That's the link. Add it. Put the discount code in. If you buy it without the discount code, it's not my fault. I can't do anything. So ready? The code for the free one is 100. The code is 100. The code for the 50% off one is 50. The code for 25% off is 25. The code for 10% is 10. Every single one of these, sorry, I'm just checking these. Every single one of these discount codes is very high discounts. These t-shirts are very high quality. They cost us, we don't make much money, and especially with any of these discount codes, you are saving a lot. It's the official XRP logo. We pay for the license for the logo. You can see it. It's embroidered. It is embroidered onto the t-shirts in different colors. So any of those discount codes, 100, 100, 50, 25, 10. You can use any of those discount codes. Let's see what's going on. You can use any of those discount codes, or you can get it full price as well. So I'm just making sure that's all going through. Make sure they apply before you check out. There's nothing I can do if they haven't applied before you check out. I'll show you exactly what I mean. I'll do it here. And you add to cart. I'm going to quickly move away to make sure I'm not. I've added the bundle by accident actually. You can. There's a bundle as well where you get the full discount, or you could just add. You scroll down. Either the bundle, which gives you all three at a discount already, or you add the t-shirt. I've got 3 of them. I don't want 3, so we make sure we've got it right. You press checkout. I'm just doing this so I don't give away any details. There we go. We've got Martyn calling in as well. Let me see if there's. So then you click the shirt, and then you put the discount code in here. You put the discount code in here. I imagine 100's already gone. Is there any for 50 left? There is 50. There is. Someone can still claim the 50. 25. Was it 25? Yes, there is still 25. So that's how you do it. Put the discount code in there. 50, 25, all great discounts. So congratulations to anyone someone's already claimed the free one. 50% is a great discount. 25 is amazing. 10% is also bringing it back to cost. So let me bring Martyn into the show. We've got the chart analysis, then a big show. So Martyn, welcome in.
Hi, Sensei. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, this is very, very fast-paced moving. So what we're going to do, Sensei, you've only got about 5 minutes tops to finish with me, to get me out of here. Do your chart. Send everybody over to Vaz. He's going to continue the broadcast for XRP meeting because we have a big earnings coming up tonight with a great innovation with the EV tolls and the new industries, the new innovative sector in the market you need to be looking at. So we need to cover that to give everybody the opportunity to be in that, to learn all about EV tolls tonight. So what we're going to do, just repeat that. I've just dropped the link in the chat. It's also pinned to the top automatically. Sensei is going to give you a chart as he finishes his chart. He's only got 5 minutes maximum, maybe 4 minutes now, and then send everybody over to Vaz's stream. I know it says Archer Aviation, but he's going to cover the SEC meeting until it fades out or it's no longer providing any value to you as XRP investors. And then it will go straight into his major presentation for tonight. I've got Vaz going early to do that. Sensei, back to you.
Thank you. So we're going to wrap this up. We'll send you, and we're going to cover the SEC case right after the break, which is I think they're about to take a break on the SEC front. We're going to cover the chart. 3 minutes time, we're going to be over. Anyone who wants the merch, last call. Here is the link. It is the XRP t-shirt. The XRP t-shirt, there's a bundle at the top. You scroll down to the XRP t-shirt itself. You've got discount codes of and these are official logos. You've got the discount code 50, 25, and 10, whichever ones are still left. The free one I can see is gone. I think the 50% is gone as well, but 25% off that shirt. It's high quality, it's full cotton. It's got the XRP embroidered logo. We only do this a few times, and they will sell out. So there is the link for the shop. Click that. There's a bundle if you want all 3 items or just the t-shirt. So that was a giveaway plus giving you it at cost as well. So here we go, XRP chart. Why is it going down? Well, because the broader markets are selling off. The broader markets are coming down. You can see Bitcoin's actually down on the day, and XRP's up on the day. So XRP is holding up much, much better. XRP's performing much, much better than Bitcoin. You can see it's now in a downtrend. However, what did I say? $2.60 is resistance, $2.50 is support. So we're trying to hold $2.50. If you hold $2.50, it's actually very bullish. We'll break this downward slope and then we'll have another shot at $2.60. So I'm not concerned. We've been predicting each and every breakout. If we just scroll back a little bit, you can see this downwards. We predicted the big move down, the 50% drop, coming down to $1.70. Then we had the move up, the breakout from the downwards trend, breaking out of $2.30, and we said we break $2.30. We said we break this downwards trend, we'll come up to $2.30. We break $2.30, we'll come up to $2.50. We break $2.50, we're going straight up to $2.60. Every single one over the last few days has been right, and now we're looking to hold $2.50. That is what I think is going to hold. If it doesn't hold, I don't mind. $2.30 still supports, but I do think $2.50 will continue to hold. Once we break out of this downwards trend, I think we'll have another shot at $2.60. We're live all the time covering all XRP news. Please do subscribe. I'm going to take you back to the SEC roundtable, but that's going to be with Vaz, and that's going to continue into the next big event. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Stay exactly where you are because this stream will take you there. One last thing is the XRP. Last thing, XRP t-shirts. Go onto the website. You've got the discount codes. I'm going to put it in the chat one last time. That's the XRP t-shirt. Use code 502510. Make sure the discount code's there. When you press it, you know what you're paying for. It says the price at the bottom. So just make sure the discount is applied. Thank you, everyone. Stay exactly where you are. We're going to continue with the SEC Roundtable on the same channel, and we're going to continue that and going into a big Archer Aviation call, the new XRP, I like to call it. So stay with us, subscribe, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 30 seconds. So I'm going to end this and we're going to go straight there. Thank you.